Right, in this video, we're going to go through how I would scale to £10,000 a month in profit if I started again completely from zero. So I'm going to run through kind of obviously the blueprint that I use in terms of the remote services business, the simplicity obviously with the model as well, specifically what I do with advertising to get the ball moving really quickly, bringing in some inbound lead flow, obviously so I can make some money. The model that I will use, specifically the contractor model, because I'm not going to be doing the work myself. Been there and done it, it's not happening again. And I'm specifically not going to use staff as well, because staff are a pain in the ass. And then we're going to look at the growth, specifically what I have to do to go from this stage, which is like the setup basically, and making some profits. And then exactly what I need to do to be able to scale to hit that £10,000 a month in profit. We're talking about profits, always talking about profits here, okay? So, specifically, if you don't know what we do, I'm going to use a remote service business. Now, if you don't know what a remote service business is, there's tons of videos on it on our channel, specifically services like cleaning, maintenance, any physical service that could be applied to a building is the best way that you can run a contractor model, which we'll come on to shortly. So I'm going to think of my services. I'm only really going to start with one or two to start with so that I can really double down on my lead generation specifically for those services. I will still integrate different services into the business, but I might not necessarily advertise for them at an early stage. I can use them as upsells onto different projects or contracts, things like that, subject to what leads I bring in specifically to the business. What I'm going to do straight away is sell the service or the services. So that is the first thing that I look at. I'm then going to hire contractors, which we'll come on to shortly, and then I'm going to make sure that those contractors are delivering results by managing quality control. Managing quality control with your contractors is really important because we look at the lifetime value of a customer to make sure that we retain clients. Quality control has to be done. It has to be perfect to make sure that the contractors deliver results, and then the client is obviously happy, so they pay you, which is the most important thing. I'm not going to invest in any staff. I'm not going to invest in any vans or equipment. I've done the vans. You know my stories about vans, nightmare. And I'm definitely not going to invest in any equipment moving forward as well. What I am going to do is focus on high demand services. Now that will kind of come down to your location, bit of research around that. If I'm targeting London, for example, I know that I can pick something like an end of tenancy clean, deep cleaning, even pressure jet washing, you know, that kind of thing. Services that are always in demand. End of tenancy and deeper cleans, that's probably more where you want to focus, especially in the current market that we're seeing at the moment. Then I'm going to add on some high ticket services onto my business, again, that I might not necessarily advertise for just yet, and you'll see why in a moment. The one thing I'm going to focus on is keeping my costs low. So my operating expenses, I'm going to keep them as low as possible. There's no reason why they need to be expensive at all. And then I'm going to focus on my conversion rate. So that is the leads that I bring into the business, the amount of leads that I then convert into paying clients. If I can focus on a 40 to 50% conversion rate, I'm going to get to this stage where I could look to grow the business to £10,000 a month in profit in a shorter time frame as possible. And then, so focusing on conversions, and then I'm going to focus on my profit margin as well. So specifically what I can put on top of my contractor costs to make myself profitable in the business. So that is the simplicity of the blueprint and the business that I am going to take. That's all I'm going to focus on. Selling the services, hiring contractors, delivering results to clients, no vans, no staff, anything like that. Focusing on high demand and adding on some high ticket services as well, and keeping all of my costs low, focusing on conversions, focusing on profit margins. That's it. That's all I need to focus on right now. There doesn't really need to be any attention put into anywhere else. You know, I see people focusing on branding for ages, or coming up with a fancy name, or, you know, the list goes on. Don't need to do it. If you want to focus on simply replacing your income, for example. So when I was working in London, if this was my blueprint now to replace my income, this is exactly what I'm going to do. So the next thing I'm going to think about is paid advertising. So you can do things organically. Don't get me wrong, I started off organic when I was working in London. However, it can be a slower process. Full transparency, it will be a slow process. You can still get it done. Obviously, your margins become greater because you're not spending money on paid advertising. But to be honest with you, the advertising that I can get you set up with right now, I would focus on LSA, which is through Google. It's very, very low lead costs. Very low lead costs. And because of that low lead cost, you don't need to spend a lot of money. Happy days. So I'm going to start with a Google LSA profile. Okay. What I would have had to done between here is a small online setup framework, something like Google My Business, that integrates with LSA. Okay. So that would only take you a few minutes to set up, then we integrate it into LSA. The reason why I'm going to focus on LSA to start with is because it's really, really fast profits. Really, really fast inbound leads as well. Literally turn it on, you'll be generating leads in 48 hours once you're verified. Okay, so that's what we can focus on. So, like I said, setup roughly takes about 48 hours. There's a verification process with Google. Once that's all done, we're good to go. I'm going to set a budget of £5 to £10 per day, subject to kind of what I have set aside in ads. When I was working in London, I was earning £40,000 a year at the time. Okay, by the time I paid my mortgage, everything else, my daughter liked a new toy pretty much every single day. She still does. I'm going to have to allocate a portion of that, what I'm earning in London at the time, because I did have some spare cash, into my ads. Okay, so let's say I'm going to allocate £300 into my advertising budget. Okay, so that's £10 per day. It's all I need to get started with. And then I need to remember to focus on my conversion rate, 40 to 50%. Get it 50%, I'm laughing because I'm profitable nice and early. LSA, if you don't know what LSA is, you pay per lead. Google brought in, basically helps SMEs to get started with. There's a cap that we see in the market that you can spend on LSA, which is why we go into the growth, and I'll discuss how we're going to grow further with some more paid advertising and different outreach as well. I'm going to focus on the categories that I want to advertise for. So the only ones, let's say I'm going to target end of tenancy, right? The only category I'm going to put on my LSA is end of tenancy. It's called move in and move out clean on LSA. All right. That's the only one I'm going to focus on. And then I'm going to aim at local targeting. Okay. So let's say I'm going to target London. Right, I'm only going to target London for this specific campaign. I know that London's got loads of leads. The same in the UK, any city, you're not going to have any issues with generating leads. We even see in smaller towns, you don't have issues in generating leads as well. But specifically for this blueprint, I'm going to focus on London. So what I've done, I've set up LSA, I've allocated a budget of £10 per day to this campaign. We're obviously only paying per lead. The category that I'm going to focus on is move in and move out cleans, because I'm only really aiming at one service. You will get some deep clean inquiries off the back of it as well. And my locality, I'm going to target London for this specific campaign. Okay. Next, when these leads are coming in, how am I going to get the jobs completed? Now, with my model, I don't do the cleaning and I don't hire staff. So what do? I have to hire contractors to do the work for me. Okay, you could go out and do some of the work yourself, but we don't want to do that. That's not specifically what you want to do, because I've been there, I've done it. It's not fun. Contractors know what they're doing. They're professional. They get the job done. You can name it independent contractors, smaller businesses. What I will do is onboard multiple contractors for the service. Okay, so because I'm focusing on deep cleaning, end of tenancy cleans, I'm going to be specifically looking at contractors for that service. When these leads now come in, and they will be coming in once you turn this campaign on, you have my word on that, I then need to take this lead and get a specification, a price, and a timeline on when they can get the job done. Okay? So what I would have done, I would have taken that to at least 2 contractors, ideally 3, because the specification is pretty much always going to be the same. The price will vary drastically. What we see in the market, especially in the cleaning and maintenance sector, is that prices just vary all the time. You know, I say this to my clients. I say, you've got to be careful of pricing, because let's say we get a 4-bedroom end of tenancy in London, and one contractor comes in at £1,500. You will honestly have a contractor that will come in around 250, £300. No word of a lie. There's a few reasons why I think that is, but probably not relevant to this video at the moment. What's most important is that you onboard at least 2 to 3 contractors and you get the spec and the price, and then you work out a timeline on when they can get the job done. But specifically, if the specification is exactly the same and you've onboarded the contractors in the right way by looking at a number of different factors, timeline, they can get the job done in the right amount of time that the client wants it done in, then price is the only deciding factor. So you have to remember that you want to get your markup on top of this as well, right? This is my business. I'm the one doing the lead generation. I'm the one that set up my online setup framework. This is my business. I generated the leads. I get to put a markup on the job. That's how my model works. It's how it's worked for the last 9 years now. So subject to kind of what rates I've had in, I'm probably going to look at kind of a middle ground. I might honestly even go with the lowest price as long as I can manage the quality control of that contractor, and I'm more than happy with like their previous work, their reviews online, so on and so forth. They're a trusted business or independent contractor and they can get the job done. As long as I manage quality control, there's no reason why I can't go for a lower price. I'm not saying do this every single time, but there's no reason why you can't, especially when you're first starting out, because we get to put on a decent markup. When it comes to the markup, you ascertain your own profit margin on these jobs. Now, this is something that has to be taught. It comes with service knowledge in the industry, because I could tell you to focus on a 30% markup or a 10% markup on top of everything, and you will probably have a good business. It will still be profitable, be a little bit boring. You'd be more focused around an agency. I know I can get a lot more profit by ascertaining my own profit margin. So if I had a contractor that come in at £200 for this 4-bedroom and a tenancy clean, but I know the going rate in London is £750 based on a bit of market research, well, straight away I'm looking at a £500 net profit on that job. That is a 200% markup, which, all right, you know, when you say it out loud, sounds a little bit harsh, but I don't care. I'm here to make money. I'm here to run my business. I've done a lot bigger margins than that in the past. You can focus on smaller margins to start with if you just want to get the concept across the line. You want to get the concept in the business. You want to understand how the business works. You want to understand the terminology, the pricing, so on and so forth. The reason why I like to ascertain my own profit margin is because I can get profitable a lot quicker, which again takes me to growth. That takes me to 10k per month in net profit. Okay, so ascertain your own profit margin. If you don't know how to do that, comment below. I will try and give you some steps towards it, but honestly, it does have to be taught. It's a bit of a hand-holding process when it comes to deciding your own profit margins. You learn it quickly as leads begin to come in. Obviously, you understand the terminology of the different services that you're offering, and you begin to understand the market rate pretty quickly. So what I'm also going to focus on is a fixed cost to start with. When I focus on fixed cost, I know my exact profit margin, I know exactly what the contractors are charging me, and it just keeps it nice and simple, right? I've got guys that have been with me for years. They still only run fixed costs. There are ways to make a little bit more of a margin by running things on an hourly rate or a day rate, okay? But again, there's strategies around that. And it gets a bit more complicated. All I'm going to do, once I've got this first job across the line, I'll still be having leads coming in through LSA as well, is I'm literally just going to completely repeat this process. The lead comes in, I take it to my contractor, ascertain my own profit margin, rinse and repeat. Make sure the jobs are done properly, the contractors are getting the job signed off by the client's 100% happy with everything. I can even offer some upsells on those projects as well, and literally rinse and repeat. I'm going to rinse and repeat until I have enough money to reinvest profits into targeted growth, okay? Even though LSA is slightly targeted because we're only focusing on one service, I am then going to do specific audience targeting as I grow the business to £10,000 per month in profit. Just using this setup, just using this advertising, you can still get to really good profits even 10 grand a month in profit, but you will have to use upsells, you will have to like retain the existing client base, and you will have to kind of use that client base to produce further work as well, because LSA has caps on what you can spend. Google says it doesn't, but it definitely does currently, because we see people go to spend quite a lot and it will get capped. I've seen people only using LSA get to 10 grand a month in profit. However, there's a way that I'm going to do it that's slightly different, because I want to focus on some recurring revenue as well. Okay, so rinse and repeat that process until, let's say, until I get to £2,000 cash flow in the bank, ready to reinvest. So, like I said here, I've built up cash flow to reinvest into a different type of advertising. I'll probably use something like a pay-per-click campaign to get started with this type of setup. I will then specifically target an audience that I want to target. So let's say for this example, I'm going to focus on commercial contract cleaning, and I'll come to that in a second. I will use the pay-per-click campaign to go direct to my website. Okay, so during this middle ground here, we're going to have to do a bit of work on our website. We would have got tons of pictures and videos from contractors, and we're just constantly topping up our Google My Business profile, our website, making everything a lot more social proof, putting loads of social proof out there. We can get this job done, we can get that job done. And again, the pay-per-click campaign will go direct to the page on the website. So if I specifically want to target commercial contract cleaning, whether that be schools, for example, and I have a school contract cleaning page on my website, that's where I'm going to target to straight away. Okay. The website I want optimized for conversions. So there'll be lots of calls to action on my website. There'll be form bookings, things like that, a link to a contact us page, make sure our numbers are nice and clear. Because with pay-per-click, we're not going to be running like LSA where you get a dashboard, for example. Pay-per-click will go direct to the website and everything's going to come through that website. Near enough. Sometimes you Google My Business and obviously contacting you on phone numbers and things like that as well, but most of it's going to come directly through the website. Okay. Like I said, social proof, trust, reviews, get it all on there, and then double check your calls to action on your website as well, just to make sure everything's dialed in. Then, like I said, I'm going to choose scalable services in the business. For this example, I would be focused on recurring revenue services. The reason being is that one, it will get me to 10 grand a month with sustainable growth and recurring revenue. So let's say I go and get a school contract that nets me £1,500 a month, okay? Or a school, easy example, it nets £1,000 a month in profit, okay? 9 more of those and I hit 10 grand a month in profit. Just off this section, because we've still got work coming in from here. We've still got work coming in from this blueprint. And if that's generating £2,000, £3,000, £4,000 a month, and I want this to come to 10 with recurring revenue, which is massively sellable as well. This is where you have your exit plan, like I did with my business, the external division. Commercial contracts is a stage that you kind of want to get to, and more commercial work as well. Obviously, there's tons of commercial work out there. What I now need to think about is, do I need more contractors? Do I need to target more locations? And then what I need to focus on is the job value itself. So if it's a one-off job, I focus on the entire job value and obviously the profits that come along with that as well. So really, really focusing on my profit margins again. Conversion rate comes into this as well. And then what I want to integrate into this stage is I'm focusing on commercial contracts. But what I can do to really boost the bottom line again, this is exactly what I would do, is I would integrate some high ticket services at this stage as well. So I'm essentially going to run 2 campaigns. I'm going to focus one on commercial contract cleaning. I might even do some more specific audience targeting towards that. I might say I'm only going to target schools in London. Okay, that's it. I'm going to target schools in London for their commercial contract cleaning. Or I'm going to do a bit more of a generic campaign to commercial contracts. And I'll call it, commercial contract cleaning. And we focus on gyms, offices, schools, industrial, that kind of thing, yeah? Then I'm going to run another campaign, another paid advertising campaign to my high ticket services. So if I use something like graffiti removal or pest control, something that interlinks with commercial contract cleaning is a good idea. But there are other services that we're seeing absolutely booming in the industry at the moment. So I might pick something that I know that I'm probably going to get a minimum of 100% markup on every single time. So what this is going to do for me is bring in commercial contracts. I want to aim at a high conversion rate on those contracts as well. Think about my recurring revenue, so I can keep topping that up month by month to make sure that I'm coming to my goal of 10 grand a month in profit. Then adding on high ticket services as well to boost that profit margin, use it as upsells on contracts, so on and so forth, and really aim to have a high conversion rate on those leads as well. Okay, so I've now got two things. I've got obviously my business completely set up. We're generating leads through LSA, and I've got my contractor model set up. So this is rinse and repeat. Essentially, this is rinse and repeat to here as well, contractor to new services, because we just need to onboard new contractors for the new services that we're trying to get into the business as well. If I get this to a stage, let's say I spend £400 per month, so I've gone up to £100 per week on local services advertising, and that generates me anything £2,000 to £3,000 per month in profit just off LSA. Okay, that is perfect for me to be able to advertise into pay-per-click. Let's say I run pay-per-click at £1,000 a month to start with. Okay. And then off the back of this, I'm getting my scalable services, my recurring revenue, my high ticket services, and I'm literally running this process exactly as it is with no changes whatsoever until I hit £10,000 per month in profit in the business. When you do that, you have the opportunity to do so much more. You can rinse and repeat this and just carry on. Because I get my clients on a call at this point and I say, where do you want to go to? At £5,000 per month. I say, where do you want to go from here? Everyone has different goals when it comes to starting a business or growing a business. Not everyone's is financial. Some are time freedom elements and things like that as well. So it's important to know when you do get to this stage what your next step is. If you are finding the business easy, if your contractors are dialed in, your lead generation's dialed in, there's so much that we can systemize at this point as well. And then we're continuing to invest further profits into different advertising campaigns. You can also build out your sales process further. You can onboard more contractors. You can branch out into more locations. The list literally goes on. You can try and automate the business a bit more. You can onboard virtual assistants to start taking over the process of dealing with contractors. You can hire a contract manager if you want to. They will go on PAYE more than likely, or even bringing in someone for a few days a week. Use a VA, to be honest with you. Basically, the opportunities are endless. If I was going to start again from zero right now, this is the exact blueprint that I would use. This blueprint is there or thereabouts where I take my clients. It's obviously a lot more in depth, and we do a hand-holding process with every step of this journey. And so many of my clients are at this stage, obviously, where we're just continuing looking at growth in the business as well, and teaching my new starters, my new startup businesses to ascertain their own profit margins as well, which is, again, something that really has to be taught. So if this is exactly what you're looking for, a simple, easy, scalable business that you want to grow to 10 grand a month as a minimum, or less, or more, entirely up to you, I'll put a link in the description of this video. If you want to book in a call with me, please book in a call. We'll have a chat, watch the training video. We'll go from there. See you soon.